warned me he might be a couple minutes late. Looking at the list of the first speakers, I think everybody's here. Is the superintendent going to be joining us? Should we wait for her?
I know she was in a meeting, so she may be wrapping up that meeting.
All right. Whoa, wait 1 minute. Hope everyone's day's going okay. You're staying cool.
Yes.
Our kids are enjoying back being here. I know everybody in cabinet are excited to say that we had, I want to say over 89% attendance today, based on the numbers. So we are extremely excited by that attendance rate, and it's been increasing from day one to today. So that's a big deal for us. We love that every day more and more students are returning. So very
Yeah,
excited.
I think that's great. I've been seeing some of those numbers too, and that is good. As someone whose kids weren't always in school on the first day, I'm happily surprised that we're having a great start.
Yes, it's
That's
a
good.
very positive start to see that many students coming back first, second, and third day.
Good. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and get started and call this meeting to order. And because what else could be more fun than a finance and operations meeting? So why hold off any longer? So we'll go ahead and jump right into the agenda. Just see if the committee has any comments or questions about any of the information only items. Hearing none, I just had one quick question, and it was on information only item number 5. And I was just curious if there were any other schools in the district using this National SAM Innovation product. Pretty interesting.
Previously, Dina Natalino was using it when she was in the principal role at Bishop Woods. She and Dr. Perrone both started the program at the same time, both swear by it highly, and would have engaged if her role was in a position that could keep it like that. She would still be engaged as such, and Dr. Perrone has used it for, I believe, going on 4 or 5 years now. It was introduced first as part of our Wallace Foundation grant around principal preparedness and principal efficacy. So yes, it's been very useful.
All right. And I imagine others know about it and evaluated their utility for their own purposes. Okay, great.
Yes.
That's the question I had. So thank you. Let's go ahead and jump into abstracts. The first one is Commissioners Network Grant. So is Mr. Foreman or someone else here to speak on that?
Wait, I can speak on it and Keisha can help me? Or Keisha can speak on it and I can help her?
You can go ahead, Ms. Connor.
All right. So Commissioners Network is an opportunity for one of the turnaround schools. It is a 5-year grant. This is the planning year for the grant. The school was awarded $50,000 to plan, and they chose all of it in professional development in order to prepare themselves for it. I believe that today there was a very successful meeting with the state, Ms. Red Hannons and Ms. Denegres, in order to establish parameters and plan for the year of what that will look like. Through this year, they'll plan to complete the grant, what that would look like, and what the staff would look like, what the instruction will look like, and the focus. So we'll hear a lot more from that in next year's abstract.
Yeah. And I'll just add to it. So in this abstract for the $50,000 that the state has given us for the planning year. We are leveraging those dollars to actually work with HMH, which is the publisher for our new core curriculum, to provide extended professional learning experiences for the teachers at Troop School.
All right, thank you very much. Any comments or questions from the committee? Hearing and seeing none. We'll move on, and looks like the next one is a what is this? ESSA SIG grant for Roberto Clemente. So
That'll be me as well. So the SIG grant is a grant that is allocated for turnaround schools. I'm looking this way because I'm looking at the grant as I speak. And so Clemente was designated a turnaround school this year. Therefore, they were able to leverage funds. I want to thank Ms. Red Hands. She was critical in developing this grant with Ms. Mia Duff in order to ensure alignment with the new curriculum and the new strategies, best practice strategies. The grant is going to focus on professional development for iReady, job embedded coaching for literacy, attendance incentives and PBIS rewards. Actually, no, training for PBIS professional development. So it's a grant that is total $236,000. It's a 2-year grant, and each year they'll receive the same amount.
all right, thank you. Comments or questions from the committee? Hearing and seeing none. I had none either, so thank you for the overview. We'll jump right into the agreements. The first one is an agreement with, I believe it's Taoju Educational Solutions, or I might be mispronouncing that. Mr. Mendia?
No, you pronounced that correctly. Speaking of someone mispronouncing words, numero uno here. But so we went ahead with Taoju. This is year 2 of our collaboration. They specialize in biliteracy education. And what they do have to offer around the science of reading of the bilingual brain. We haven't been able to find any other agency who will be able to go ahead and do so, in addition to the majority of the consultants being fully bilingual and biliterate. So this will support the work around the district being done on the science of reading, and specifically we'll be focusing in Truman, K-8.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions from the committee? The one question that I had, if you could just elaborate a little bit more on the selection process. I noticed there was quotes from ACEs that were cheaper, but I mean, I know there could be very different service levels, et cetera. So I'm just curious as to how that decision process goes.
So, I mean, in terms of the decision process that we followed, again, it was which one was the agency that more closely aligned, to the work that we are doing around the science of reading. So we did look for, again, as I said earlier, agencies, to work with, but they do not have the expertise that on the science of the bilingual brain that we do need to do the work that we are, that we have ahead of us.
All right, thank you for that clarification. Hearing nothing else on this one, we'll go on to number 2, which is an agreement with the State Education Resource Center, also Mr. Mendia.
So part of the continuing work that we are going to be performing with CERC is the work around the shelter instruction, the observation protocol. We began working with our comprehensive high schools. We need to continue that work. In addition to the work on translanguaging, on writing, and in addition, we are trying to build some of the capacity of our local coaches, so they will be conducting some coaching.
All right, thank you. Are there any comments or questions? I didn't really have any, just the clarification that the State Education Resource Center, that's like one of those organizations like ACES or others that are kind of the kind of state sanctioned groups to help keep costs down and so on. Am I remembering that correctly? I see Ms. DeMayo nodding.
That's correct, Mr. Wilcox.
Thank you. Okay, hearing and seeing nothing else, we're going to number 3. And this is, first one is an agreement with Connecticut Rise Network. Dr. White.
Yes, good evening again. So we are seeking to contract with the RISE Network to work with Hill House and Cross Schools, particularly on 9th grade academy, 9th grade transition, and working to keep our kids in school. One of the things 9th grade work is key to the success throughout their high school. And we wanted to work with RISE. RISE has been a part of the district in previous years when they've been here before. On ninth grade,
threshold for starting the conversation about
Tom, I'm going to mute you. Thank you. In past 9th grade, on-track rates went up almost 9 points under when we were working with RISE at Career. Also, we've sent our teams, a 9th grade team from Hill House and Cross to RISE training this summer already to work on that work. They've been part of a 9th grade symposium in work in transitioning both work for Hill House and Cross. There we've worked with them and all of our 9th grades, all of our high schools on a book called The Make It or Break Year. And we're trying to increase that effectiveness and do professional development, really focusing on the focus on what we do with 9th grade at Hill House and Cross and kind of building out from there. Also, they've worked with us on the 9th grade, on the FAFSA challenge in previous years. And that has also helped, a few years ago, helped Hill House reach 12-point improvement in their year-over-year FAFSA completion rate. So those are a few of the things. They have worked with us. They specialize in working with 9th grade among one of their focus area, and it's part of our overall plan we have working with our high schools and starting with our largest 2.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions from the committee? So I think the question I had, you did address, I think, some of it, which was the reason for going with this vendor. It sounds like they've done a lot of work with us in the district, and you all are very satisfied with the level of services that they're providing. My only question is, do we know of any other groups that could do this kind of work? And when was the last time the district looked for that?
Last time district looked for this was about 3 or 4 years ago, and it's really been focused. RISE has been the specialty group in this area. And we are seeking to get eventually, didn't put down sole source because we haven't gone through the procurement side on that, but believe that eventually it will be really sole source for what we look forward to do in 9th grade.
Okay, so it sounds like what you're saying then is you all are going to seek the sole source designation, and or you'll double check that, I guess, as part of that process, that'll really help determine that there really isn't another group that provides this unique combination of services.
Correct.
And if that's not sole source, then will you all be looking for other options again?
We will in the future.
Okay. All right, thank you. That works for me. Hearing nothing else from the committee, we'll go on to agreement number 4, which is an amendment to the agreement with Arte. Ms. Joseph Lumpkin.
Getting my microphone on. Yeah, so we are actually very excited about this opportunity that Arte is providing to give our families, along with their students, an opportunity to spend some time at one of our favorite places, which is the Farnham Camp located in Durham, Connecticut. It's a 72-acre space, open space, has a state-of-the-art swimming pool, state-of-the-art pavilion, multiple activities for families outdoors. Arte is also intending to recruit approximately 100 to 150 families. We expect that they will reach that number and perhaps even more. I was at a recent Family Day event, and we intended to recruit between 200, 250, or closer to 300 families of students and families. And it was just a amazing experience to have our students and their families get on a bus at different locations around the city and drive to Durham. And if you've ever entered that camp, there's a point where you're going along that gravel trail and wondering, where are we? And our students have that experience, and then you land into this amazing open space of activities and camp structures. So we come up with these numbers, and our partners come up with these numbers based on their own capacity, number one, the experience that we've had in students participating in these types of activities. And our experience has been that we do not go under our plan. We sometimes go a little bit over, but our nonprofits tend to plan for that and to adjust to that. So we have not had a situation in working with our family engagement components in particular at this particular site where we see less. We generally see a little bit more. We are grateful that Arte and Farnham actually gave us a range and a good price. These, when we're doing events at these outside locations, there are additional practices that we have to put into place. We have a nurse there. We usually have, because it's Durham, a rural area, the EMTs actually park at that site. We have multiple lifeguards on duty and other campers to ensure safety. And it has been nothing but a tremendous experience, a unique experience. There is nowhere in New Haven that we could replicate the outdoor experience, the camp experience, and just the fun with families along with their students enjoying a variety of activities.
All right, thank you. Are there comments or questions from the committee? All right, I'm hearing and seeing
I have
none.
a question.
Oh, Dr. Yarbrough.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation. This is for one day, or is this multiple days?
So it is one day. We've selected a variety of days in case we have weather situations. So if there is bad weather, we will be able to adjust accordingly. But it is scheduled for 150 people, up to 150 people over one day, over a 1 day period.
Okay, thank you. And so I think I'm doing the math correctly. It would end up being $500 per person. So the 75,000 divided by 150, $500 per person for. Yeah, this is something different.
This is an amendment for 20,000. The original contract is 50, and so at a cost of about $133 per person. That incorporated all the things that I mentioned earlier, in addition to the activities, the safety components that we have to put in place when our students and families are in a camp environment. So it's 133, and I believe the amount, my computer is.
Yes, it's much different than what I was thinking. So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for your help with that math.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yes, that's all.
All right. And my only question, is it's 150 students and their families. Does that mean 150 total, or 150 students plus other family members? That could be a total of
Yeah, it's
200,
approximately
500.
it's approximately 150 people. And
Okay,
so,
total.
yeah.
All right. All right. Well, as you all know, I'm a big believer in things that the district can do to help kids get out of town, see some trees and all that. World looks a little different outside New Haven boundaries. As wonderful as New Haven is, it is good to get out. Okay, so thank you for the clarification. All right, so we'll go on to the next item. Hearing nothing else on this one, which is an agreement with the Elizabeth Salato Child Care Center. Ms. Jackson?
Yep, so this is an agreement with Salato Child Care Center, who's been providing a service to our young parents for quite some time. I know there was a question that was posed relative to if we've looked for another service provider. We have had a long-standing history with Salato Childcare, and they have provided us with good service. So the answer is that no, we have not done that in some time. Quite honestly, since the pandemic, they've been rebuilding their service and support, and we feel that it's a service that's beneficial to our young parents in the district.
Okay. Comments or questions from the committee? So yeah, I had that question about alternative service providers. When was the last time it was sought? I'd also request that we have more expansive answers to questions 2, 7, and 8, and that the cover memo get updated and reposted, just so that there's more complete information, so that members of the public and the press and other board members can, that maybe haven't been on the board very long, can understand the more full services.
Sure.
So I would request that happens this week.
Yep,
before the
I'll
board.
do that. Yep.
And just in general, so this is our only childcare center at this time, right, in the district? Is it this one?
Yes, I believe that's servicing our students, yes.
And just out of curiosity, do we have any idea how many of our students are also parents?
I
know
don't
if
have
that's
that
something
number.
the district tracks.
Yeah, I don't have that number, Mr. Wilcox. I'm sure we can get that because we do have a professional who does work with our young parents in the district, and I'm sure she has the information. So if that's something that we're requesting, I certainly can get that as well.
I'm requesting it if it's not a difficult. I don't want to make somebody do a lot of work, but I do think that's interesting because it's the kind of thing that, as we try to tell the story of the district and our students, those are kind of numbers that I think are really illustrating some of the extra challenges that a school system like this has. So for instance, I'm always asking whenever Ms. Joseph Lumpkin reports on it, what our total is these days for homeless students, because not many districts deal with as many homeless students in Connecticut as New Haven does, and I'm sure Hartford and Bridgeport, et cetera. So it's, those are some of those numbers that really just help show the disparities in services that we're able to afford based on the funding we get from the state. So yeah, if it's an easy number, great. If it's going to take some hours, I withdraw the request. Okay, so hearing nothing else on this item, we'll go on to number 6, which is an agreement with Clifford Beers Guidance Clinic. And
So this is,
also
that's me. Yeah, this is an agreement that we started a year ago with Clifford Beers, and really what it was to really look at as we're looking at the increase in numbers of students who are having significant challenges, whether it be mental health or otherwise. Really, the notion of a service that Clifford Beers has had as a service, which has been significantly beneficial to parents, is what's called care coordination. So again, we have care coordinators who are through Clifford Beers who have been connected to a variety of services that Clifford Beers offers. But primarily, it's really for those particular individuals to work with community service organizers, community service providers, and being able to organize to provide plans for families. Again, for those families who have had a lot of fraction in some of the services that are required for them and their families. Again, this is going into year 2, so it's a little bit too early to tell. But right now we have an extensive report. Mr. Wilcox, I did not add that here. Clifford Beers actually did a really nice job with the outlining of, it's like a 7-page report of kind of what we've seen, and then also some of the impact that we've seen from our own staff in district. But again, this is something that's a very, very early on. Again, enough to see whether or not this is going to be something that, again, we'll keep in our district long term. We do know that our youth community family engagement department does have some care coordinators in our district. So wanting to make sure that we're building upon what, exists within our district and really making the best decisions moving forward.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions from the committee? I think you answered my questions. I think I would be, and I imagine others would be interested in seeing that report. So
Sure.
my request or recommendation would be that it get amended to the information that's been posted on this item, since it does provide a nice, it sounds like it provides a nice overview.
It does.
And
It does.
I do know other board members do take a look at these documents. So I think having it be a fuller picture of everything is always a good thing.
Sure. I will make sure to send that.
Thank you so much. We will go on then to number 7, an agreement with Yale New Haven Health Center for EMS. Ms. Red-Hannons.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. So we're excited about this partnership. Yale New Haven Health Center is offering space for 40 of our students. 20 from Wilbur Cross, 20 from Career. Students will participate in job shadowing, paid internships, and of course courses towards para certification, paramedic certification, and they will support our students after completing high school with job placement as well.
All right, thank you. There are comments or questions from the committee? Okay, hearing none. I did have 1 or 2 questions related to this. And the first one is that the costs are listed as per student. And so my question was, if a student, if we don't have the 40 students sign up, do the costs go down? Like, is it?
Yes, it's a not to exceed contract agreement.
Okay, so just wanted to make sure that it was indeed that. And I would assume then that if a student drops out, there might be costs incurred for the stage of the program they're in, but the other pieces of it, the certification tests and things like that, we wouldn't be incurring a charge.
Correct.
For someone who dropped out, although understanding that if you drop out in the middle of a class, we might be out those funds. Okay, I did poke into this a little bit. It looks like YNHH is doing a very large training program, and interestingly, did just see today in the New Haven Independent that there is a program at the Shack that's training some students. I don't know if they're specifically students or district students, but training some folks through funding that some grant funding that Senator Winfield was able to secure for the Shack. So it's all the rage, I guess.
Yes, it's a growing field. It's a growing field at this time.
Okay, so that's great. And my final question is, we've done EMT training in the past? It's hard for me to keep track of. We've had various health related training programs, but I can't remember if they were like nurse assistants or other. We've done it? I'm seeing nods.
Yes.
Okay.
We just had a partnership with Southern over the summertime. That was a new partnership that we introduced. And what we've learned even through the partnership at Southern, when we put the all call out for our students, there were several students that were interested. So as we continue to develop these partnership and pathways for students, we're definitely meeting their needs and their interests.
All right. Well, thank you. I guess just one editorial comment that it looks like this is the full freight of the costs, and maybe we should be letting Yale New Haven know about things like the next item with District's Arts and Education, where we pay for some of it and then they also take on the costs and pay for some of it themselves. So subsidized EMT training would be even better than the ability to purchase their services. But that's editorial. Thank you very much. Hearing and seeing nothing else on this, we'll go on to number 8, which is an agreement with District Arts and Education. Ms. Hannah,
So this is a renewal. We've come before you before on District Arts and Education. They provide a great need for after-school programming. Our students participate in web design, coding, and digital tools that enhance their educational experience in New Haven Public Schools. As you noted, we are paying for 10 students and they are pitching in to pay for 15 of our students. If a student drops out of the program, we are able to replace that student at no cost. So they hold the slots for New Haven students as well. And I do apologize, it appears the evaluation was not included in the proposal packet. But I can tell you we had 10 graduating seniors in our most recent cohort. All 10 have committed to college and 8 out of 10 plan to major in computer science. And 7 of those 8 previously had 0 exposure to computer science as a career option.
Wow. All right, thank you. Any comments or questions? Okay, the one comment I would have is that would be great if that information could be amended to the appended to the posted materials. I think that'd be interested. I think that would be interested. I'd like to see it, and I know others would as well.
Definitely will. I'll show it.
Thank you very much. And I do think this is a really interesting program, and I do appreciate their taking on extra students as well. Shows their real level of commitment to this program. All right, we'll go on to number 9, which is an agreement with Educators Thriving. Ms. Red-Hannons.
Yes, Dr. White, can you allow Ms. Blatto and Mr. Tyler Hester to be promoted?
You want me to jump in, Keisha?
Just waiting for, I'll introduce and then I'll turn it over to you.
Got it, thanks.
So this is a partnership that NHBS is engaging in with our teachers union to be a part of Educators Thriving as we talk about mental health and well-being with our students. We also have to think about our educators. And so this has been a collaborative partnership starting last school year with the union and continuing forward. And I'll turn it over to Leslie at this time.
Thanks, Assistant Superintendent Red-Hannons. I appreciate the intro. It's good to see everybody this evening. To just echo what Ms. Red-Hannons said, this program is really meant to prioritize well-being for educators. And I think, we want to do it because it's the right thing to do. But I think the research, we want to look to the research too. The research also indicates when we prioritize educator well-being, we're creating environments that promote growth and resilience and improve educational outcomes for our students. So we're not just doing this just because it helps teachers. We're doing this because it really is going to help improve culture and climate across the board. And we know that's a shared goal for us. We continue to commit to teacher retention. And this is one key piece of it. This collaboration started through a grant from AFT last year, where we were able to deliver high quality professional learning experiences for a cohort of teachers. It was online, but synchronous. So they really were able to gel as a cohort of people coming together to share concerns, identify the pitfalls that often lead to burnout, and then identify ways to prevent getting caught up by those pitfalls. So this is about real strategies for personal learning. Our cohort of folks went through that last fall and really reported excellent results. 98% of the participants reported that the program improved their well-being. 87% agreed that the program helped make their work feel more sustainable. And that's what we're about. We want to make sure that well-being and sustainability are part of this ongoing conversation. We know that HR is working hard to recruit educators, and that's a shared goal. But now we got to make sure that those who are recruited to come to New Haven stay in New Haven and really become high quality experience educators, so our students can benefit from having very, very experienced teachers in front of them in all of their classes and subject areas. So this is a pickup from last fall, where we will build a cohort with the folks who did do it last fall, and then we'll recruit a second cohort as well for people to start this program anew. And New Haven Federation of Teachers also received a grant from AFT to promote educator well-being and educator retention, and we're excited to partner with the district on this project as well. I'm not sure if Tyler is here or not, or where he can chime in a little bit more on the specifics of the content of the courses.
Yeah, happy to answer any questions. Just want to give big kudos to you all for making this a priority. And also, I just think it's really powerful, the collaboration between the district and the union. It's not something that we see all the time. And I think it's a real testament to how you all are operating together. So happy to answer any questions, but I think, Leslie, you really said it well.
All right, thank you. Are there comments or questions from the committee? Dr. Yarborough.
Yes, thank you. Want to express appreciation for just taking kind of additional steps to help our teachers being their best selves and being whole people, and not just intellectually training them, but providing other types of experiences that increase resilience and help with retention, and also just a very improved experience here in the district. Also, thank you for having the surveys and having the data where we get to see what is the result of teachers investing in their own work and in their own well-being. So thank you very much for all of that, and thank you for your work and everyone's leadership around this.
Thank you, Dr. Yarborough. Appreciate the feedback.
Thank you.
Right. I'll just add that I'm glad to see this here. I remember hearing the presentation about this. I think it was in late spring, about the success of this program, and I also appreciate that this is a great example of not just identifying a problem, but bringing a solution. And especially even when the first round of the solution, you all sought the grant funding to make that happen. And so I'm glad that the district's able to use some other grant funding to keep this going, and look forward to hearing more about this as this cohort goes through the program. So thank you all very much.
Thanks, Matt.
All right. Hearing and seeing nothing else on this item, we will move on to number 10, which is an agreement with Southern for college classes at Hill House. Ms. Redhand.
Yes.
Dr. Yarborough, you had a question or comment?
Yes, just one more question on the last one. I'm looking at the demographics of those participating, or those who participated last time, and I'm curious if there's specific outreach, or in some ways it's divided up kind of grade level, but in terms of race and ethnicity, it's not, and in terms of gender, is not equal. So just thoughts around the demographics piece.
Absolutely. First, I'll say, just as a district, in addition to addressing the disparities in demographics of this group, we of course have to do better of recruiting teachers of color to come work in New Haven and stay in New Haven, right? And I know that's a shared goal for everybody here. We will work hard to help make sure that the cohort of teachers is more representative of our teachers and of our students. I'm curious, and you as a scientist might be interested in this, is there something about gender that where women are more interested in joining these kind of help groups? I'm not making a claim, I'm asking a question, right? As somebody who's curious as well. And if that's so, then what can we do to assure our members who are men to let them know that this is something that is good for them too? We know that this is a majority women profession. Nevertheless, we want to hold on to our educators who are men as well and make sure that they have the tools they need to avoid burnout. But I appreciate you zeroing in on those two pieces, and we certainly have work to do, but I'd be curious if there's something related to that around who thinks it's okay to ask for help and who doesn't. Again, just asking a question as a curious mind. I'm wondering what Tyler's thoughts are as well.
Yeah, sorry. I for a second I thought we were moving on to the next item.
We were. I jumped back. I apologize.
Oh, okay. Sorry. And so the question is about the fact that the majority of the people who enrolled in the program are women.
Mm-hmm.
Being
And white
91%
women.
Yes.
compared to 9.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know what percentage of your teaching force is female versus male, or identifies as such. I think it's a great question about the kind of culture of who feels like they're able to opt into this, and who feels inclined to do that. I'll say one thing that we see over and over again. So in my doctoral work, we saw that the people who opted into this program were people who at baseline reported lower levels of well-being compared to a comparison group of people who were matched by school site, by tenure in the profession. And so, I mean, what we have seen over and over again, every time we do a comparison group of, again, people who opt into the program versus people who don't, is that there's a segment of people who say that they want to sustain, essentially are saying, I think, they want to sustain themselves in the work, and they know they're at risk of burning out. And so I don't know what that says about our broader society, but what we see over and over again is that the people who opt in to a program like Educators Thriving have lower well-being at baseline compared to those who do not. And we live in a society where it's harder to be a woman in many respects, and so I think that could be a part of it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. Very, very interesting kind of comments and insights from you both. And I guess I would just say whatever recruiting tools we have to highlight benefits to everyone for participating, that might also help just to recruit and get more people to take advantage of this opportunity, given that it can help them. So yeah, thank you for your attention to kind of all the detail in your work.
Yeah, and I just would also, another kudos to you all for providing compensation to people who complete the program. We work with a bunch of people across the country, and that's not always the case. And I think that we need to provide systemic reinforcement for people engaging in this type of work to sustain themselves in the profession. And you all are doing that in a really meaningful way. And so you've got a big carrot already. And I think what I hear you saying is we need to be thoughtful about how every aspect of our recruitment aligns with that message of wanting as many folks to stay as possible.
Thank you. And kudos to the staff on just the model for recruiting and financially supporting teachers who take advantage of this. Thank you.
All right. Well, and thanks for all these extra comments here and for bringing up these issues and furthering the discussion. So it sounds like there's some interesting things to take a look at for recruiting this next group, particularly since the goal is retention. And so I guess the one thing I would say is that the 9% male that looks like had been part of the first cohort might be a great group to help spread the message and increase some of those numbers there. And in addition to that, for all the other the race, ethnicity, and years of experience, etc. So yeah, interesting conversations. I'll just note anecdotally, one of my favorite, I think it's a New Yorker cartoon, is like a person taking his child out and pointing to a barn with crisscross chains all around it and saying, and this is where we go and put our feelings. And so that's good. Just to Ms. Blateau's comment about, the whys and some of the differences there. So there's at least some level of acculturation in terms of feelings and things like that are things to be avoided, ignored, and locked away. So that might be part of it too. All right. Now let's go on to the next one, which is an agreement with Southern Connecticut State University. Ms. Red-Hannons.
This is an agreement with Southern Connecticut State University with NHPS for our HCAP program. That's our Health Careers Academy pathway at Hill House. If you can recall previously, we enrolled our students at Gateway to take these courses, but we're shifting the juniors and seniors when they become seniors to the Southern campus at this time. So they will continue with the HCAP pathway at Hill House, and they still can earn up to 47 credits as well. And so we're bringing that before you at this time.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? The question that I had, I think I had two on this one. One is that question of if students drop out of the program. This is not to exceed. Just confirming that if we don't have as many students, or if students don't complete the program, we're not paying. Do we pay for those students, or is this a blanket?
Right. So no, so right, this is a not to exceed. As you know, we're very intentional around HCAP. We meet with families and students ahead of time during their 9th grade year. We'll bring them back in 10th grade. We'll meet with them again in 11th grade as well to talk about the commitment. And so these families are very excited, eager, they're on board. These students also completed a summer course as well, so they know the requirements of the course as far as time commitment in the course. So that has been their buy-in. This past year, all students have earned already at least 9 college credits to date. Of course, the number of college courses will grow as they become juniors and seniors compared to when they were freshmen and sophomores. 8 out of 10 of our students have a 3.5 or higher GPA in these courses as well.
All right, thank you. And if I recall correctly, I think we discussed it at our last meeting that we'll probably have some sort of kind of overview of the success of some of these programs where students are earning college credits, because I know this is one of a few that we have in the district. And so
yes, we're planning to do a presentation at the upcoming Board of Education meeting.
Okay, I think that'll be great at some upcoming meeting that we just because there's so many options and just seeing what's working. Great.
Yes.
Hearing and seeing nothing else on this, we'll go on to number 11, which is an agreement with 3 Prime. And I think I'm about to mispronounce your name, Ms. Toussaint.
That was very nice.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. We are seeking to renew our contract with 3 Prime. This has been the data warehouse used in the district for the language arts assessment data and also the SRBI data for students in need of tiered instruction. It's been used in the district for 10 years. When I came in and started working in New Haven in July, I looked at the platform, and Dr. Swingler, who works is my counterpart in the upper grades, secondary language arts. She and I met with the owners of 3 Prime, along with one of our literacy coaches and our tech person, to talk about improvements that could be made with the platform. The platform hasn't been improved in 10 years. And as we all know, technology has changed a lot in 10 years. So 3 Prime, the owners there were very eager to sit with us and make those changes and improvements to the program. So we are very, very hopeful, and their willingness was outstanding, and they were quite excited about the changes that we were wanting to see with the program. So we are hoping to renew our contract with them.
Right, thank you. Comments or questions from the committee? Dr. Yarbrough?
Thank you for your work on this topic. The upgrades in this whole system is both hardware and software.
It's mostly software. It's on their end. It's their platform, and that we will be using in order to access and have better access to the data, and so that the user end of it will be more friendly and intuitive.
Are they custom building this? Thank you. Are they custom building this for us?
Yes, they custom built it 10 years ago, and they will be customizing it for the current needs.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I guess my question is along the lines of, how do we know that this remains the best option for the district? It sounds like it's going to get even better and more tailored to the needs, but is this also something that that there might be something like in Power School or one of the other systems that we use in the district that this data could be housed in?
Sure. Over the course of the next year, I would be very interested in researching and looking at other platforms as well. So I hope to do that. It really wasn't something that I would have been able to do in a 2-month period, but
Right. I mean,
moving forward for sure.
granted. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Go ahead and move on to number 12, which is an agreement with the JROTC Sergeant First Class Lisa Rodriguez. Is Mr. Bonet or somebody else here to speak on this?
Yes, it'll be me. So this is our contract that we bring before you annually. As you know, Hill House has the only JROTC program in the state. And Sergeant First Class Rodriguez has been with us year after year, developing leadership skills within our students, as well as civic-minded students as well.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions on this? Dr. Yarbrough? You're muted.
Thank you. You said Hill House is the only school in the state that has this?
No, in the city. In the city.
In the city. Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. My question is, if I remember correctly, we typically have 2 instructors in this program, and my question is, I wasn't able to get the website search to work for me to look up to see if we had already done one of the instructors. And so my question is, are we going to have 1 instructor this year, or are we going to have another one come through?
So our second instructor retired. So we're looking for a second instructor for the classroom, for the class.
Okay. All right, thank you. And this is just as a reminder to everyone, this is one where we pay about, I guess, 55% of this, and the Army pays the other remaining amount. So we might have questions in our full board meeting about the July 1 start date. So does this work start in August, or is it been kind of going through the summer, or is this something that starts up the school year?
I will need to get clarity on the actual start date.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they do any work in the summer. I don't know if they just wrote it from July 1 to begin versus the start of the school year, but I'll get clarity
Thank you.
prior to the meeting.
All right, so we'll move on into the purchase orders. We have two with Houghton Mifflin. Dr. Swingler.
Coming across.
All right.
Hi, good evening. Sorry, I was just promoted to panelist. Hello, Mr. Wilcox. Thank you. Yes, I'm here tonight to talk to you about the Read 180 quote. This is a renewal quote. As I'm sure you've seen in the past, this is a program that New Haven has used for the past several years as a subscription to support our students in reading intervention. So we bring these two quotes before you tonight in hopes of continuing the relationship with HMH and to move forward with their subscription-based platform to support our readers who need additional instruction.
All right, thank you. Are there comments and questions from the committee? All right, I had none either. I guess just this is, we've been using this for several years. This gets heavily used. I'm sure you all have looked at the usage data and it remains worth it. Otherwise we wouldn't be seeing it, but just to confirm.
Yes, sir. To confirm, it's something that the district has invested in over a number of years. And we're hopeful to continue exploring the benefits of this, as well as not only looking at the usage, but impact as well as we continue to evolve our work in our intervention around literacy and our targets on literacy improvement for the system.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Yarborough?
Yes, just to that point, it would be great to see any data you have or come across for the impact that this resource is having for our students across the district.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Yarborough. I think that's a wonderful request and I appreciate it. And we'll speak with Ms. Red-Handens about that request and further explore what we can provide to you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I think
Thank
it's good
you.
to have tools, as the superintendent has pointed out. Two major goals of the year are attendance and literacy.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you.
To support that will be key. All right, we'll now move into the contracts, which are the first one is an award for consolidated electric on-call theater maintenance repair. Mr. Lang.
Good evening, everyone. Jamarlene, Executive Director of Facilities. We have here an on-call theater and maintenance contract awarded to Consolidated Electric for $40,000 using capital dollars. This was awarded through a sealed bid, and we currently do not have any previous comparable contracts from previous years. What we found is that a lot of the stage and theater equipment requires scaffolding and certain types of lifts. The lighting requires certain electrical backgrounds and specialties in dealing with those systems. And so we put out a bid for a company to kind of encompass all of the theater and stage maintenance for us. And it was awarded to Consolidated Electric for FY24. We have any questions?
Thank you. Comments or questions from the committee? I had none either. I'll just, as a comment, which I always add whenever we're talking about things related to the theaters, that with this number of theaters in the district that we have, that might be a nice ripe opportunity to try to receive some grant funding for overhauls of some of the equipment and the lighting system, sound, and etc. So I know from other meetings, Mr. Lamb and his team have been working hard on maintenance, and we're putting roofs on things, new carpets and so on, but also I'm thinking about also the equipment that goes in the shell. So just keep throwing that out there. I know people are working on it. Our final one here is a contract renewal option 204 for filter sales and service.
That is correct, Marlene again. So we have a renewal contract for filter sales and service. The original contract was awarded through a sealed bid using ESSER 3 funds. It's going to be $125,000. We did use all of that money last year. This is for the air filters for all of our air handlers at all of these schools. And the SOA, the statement of award, is based on filter pricing, and there is no increase in pricing this fiscal year.
All right, thank you. Are there comments or questions related to this? I have none. I just a comment, if I remember correctly, there's 6,244 filters required in the district at any given time in all the systems. I'm trying to remember if that's the right number. It's still a shocking number to me. But so filter sales and service will be key. All right. Thank you very much. We have finished the action items. So I'd like to go ahead and make a motion, and that is that I move that we send to the full board with a recommendation to approve the 2 abstracts, 12 agreements, 2 purchase orders, and 2 contracts.
Second.
All right. Are there any, is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and take the vote. Dr. Yarborough?
Yes.
President Rivera?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. So we'll move those things on, and then we'll also move on ourselves to our discussion items. The first one is we need to reschedule the September 18th meeting. And the proposal on the agenda here is that we move this to have F&O be a special meeting on September 19th, starting at 4:30. So just seeing if anybody had an issue with that, or if we can deem it moved. Dr. Yarborough?
I think we can move it, though I do facilitate a course beginning at 5:30 p.m. So I will
Okay.
only be able to join the meeting for the first portion of it.
Okay. So you have a hard stop at what time? Because you have to travel?
Yes, I mean, I can take a little bit in the car, but probably 5:20.
Okay.
Because I'll go into a garage and we'll lose signal.
All right. So you have a hard stop at 5:20. That evening, I have a hard stop at 6. But hopefully we can accommodate everything in that time. So maybe we'll, Ms. DeMayo, maybe we'll have a trimmed discussion items for that meeting if it looks like there's going to be a lot of action items. So.
Okay.
All right. So we'll go ahead and move that meeting. I'll notify the board, and I'm sure someone will update the website, etc. The next thing I just wanted to mention our tentative discussion item calendar. I was thinking it would be a good thing for us to post that someplace, and was wondering if anybody had an issue with that. I don't know on the new version of the website how easy that would be, but just to kind of have it as a tentative listing. Another thought I had is that we could just have like a second page to the agenda that just says these are the tentative discussion dates for things coming up, just so that people have a sense of what's coming up when, in case they have questions or want to make sure they attend. It also notifies like our union leadership and other board members and so on. So if there's no objection to that, I'll talk with you, Ms. DeMayo, about what you all think would work best in terms of doing that, just so that we can kind of have that out there. One thing I would like to add to that tentative calendar is if we could get an update. Maybe we won't have time at the next meeting, but in the first October meeting, just on the security situations at Daniels. I know that was something we heard about at the tail end of last year, and I know people were working on that. I'm just wondering if we could get an update in the next month or so about how things are progressing there. So just throw that out there. Next item here, if there's nothing to discuss on that, the next item here is the gap analysis update. We put this on here just, we didn't want to lose the gap, lose track of the gap analysis. The tremendous amount of work happened with the district administrations, teachers, union members, HR, etc., on defining the gap in a couple dozen areas, a few dozen areas, and it's substantial. So just wondering if there was an update on that, or what the plans are. Will that be updated this fall?
As you know, we've allocated 10 new positions in the budget, 5 for multilingual learners and 5 for special education. I will get to you the exact numbers. I don't want to give you a number and be inaccurate of the amount of staffing that has been hired using the funding, but I know both departments have hired staff based upon the analysis that we did and the funds that were allocated for the positions.
All right. Thank you. Any comments or questions on this? Okay, Dr. Yarbrough?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Wilcox and Ms. Red-Hannons. I think we should some kind of way acknowledge and celebrate that with additional funding or with funding that we were granted, we were able to make these hires for the much needed positions, just to try to make a direct connection between somebody else's decision about our budget and how we use the resources to address real needs where there's been agreement across several parties about what these needs are. I don't know what that celebration and everything would be, but even it just being mentioned at a board meeting about the follow through, I think would be good, and us keeping a live document of our gap, I still think is important, so that any time we can reference it and share where we are and what we still need. So thank you to your work, Ms. Red-Hannons, and everyone's work on hiring, and then also keeping track of where we are as a district.
Thank you.
I think just as a follow-on to that, it probably would be good to have, formally updated numbers available by January, so that it can also, because it serves as backup information to budget requests, showing that need. I think one thing I spent some time doing this weekend, I thought it was very instructive. I think it was U.S. News and World Report put out their list of top schools in America, and in the high school category, the second best or the second highest on that list from Connecticut is Staples High School in Westport, which is a comprehensive high school, similar in size to Cross, and just looking at the funding difference and the amount of staff for a similar amount of students is quite instructive. They have, I think, about 50 more students than we do at Cross, based on the Connecticut school report card data on the Department of Education site, but they also have about 50 more staff members in the building, 50 more FTE in the building. So, and are spending several $1,000s a year more per student in that district than we are able to. So it's probably no secret how you end up higher on lists like that is having the funding and the people to provide the services to the students. So, all right. Anything else in this item? Okay, we'll move on. Policy 1330, use of facilities policy. Is there any reason why we cannot move this on to the governance committee today? Okay. I'd like to make a motion, and that is, I vote that we move policy 1330, use of facilities, to the governance committee for their consideration.
I second.
All right, is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and take a vote. Dr. Yarborough
Yes.
and President Rivera?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. So I will send that on to the governance committee. Thanks everyone for looking at that. And I just was checking to see, I know Series 3000 policies related to information security. I know staff are going to be taking a look at those. I didn't know if there was any discussion on that today. And when do we think that we'll be able to be in a position to move these on as well? Mr. Lamb and then Ms. DeMayo.
So when these, excuse me, when these were first discussed, I did pass these along, excuse me, along to Gilda Herrera and to her team to start looking at. I don't know where she is with them, but certainly if Gilda can provide some context as to where she is, then I believe we would be able to look at this at our next meeting.
All right, thank you. Ms. Herrera?
Good afternoon, everyone. I took a look at the policies that you provided regarding the student data and other things that we shared. I think we should have a meeting to discuss those, but I also believe there's an additional policy that we do not have in place. And the city has a City of New Haven computer hardware and software policy, and we need a similar policy. Because the policies that we're looking at, these are policies that actually extend to staff, students, and parents mostly. But we need a specific policy that addresses the needs of the staff and the utilization of the devices within. And the policy that I actually pulled down from the city, because I did look at what I've been asked to look at, it's from 2009, which makes this policy 22 years old. And I think this is something that we need to discuss. I would say in the next couple of weeks, we could discuss it so we could make changes, additions, and because I think that the city has a policy in place that, but some of the things inside of this policy lack additional information and additional needs that the district has. So I think that this is something to look at. And also there's a utilization policy that addresses directly student devices and any device that we provided, software and bullying and things like that. And I think that policy, the utilization policy, should also be looked at as part of this review.
Okay, so the policies you're recommending we look at, those are other current district policies, like not in Series 3000. So if it's student related, that'd be in, trying to remember, student policies are in 6,000 are instruction related, 5,000 is staff. So if you have policy numbers or you would like to send me, or I would be very happy to pull those into this as well.
Yes, because I think we should look at everything. Even, I mean, I think most of the policy when it comes to student, it encumbers most of our needs, but I think they should be looked at because there are different things that we've done in the last couple of years that we need to add to the student policy and to address. But yes, I think, and I will definitely be able to provide these documents to all you folks. I just wanted to take a look before I could say anything about them because I wanted to see what the city had and what we had.
All right, thank you. I welcome that. And then one thing I did want to mention with the student data protection policy, that just the reminder that these are just recommended policies, model policies from Connecticut Association of Boards of Education. And I know the district has instituted a student data use agreement. And so I don't know, we would also want to, when looking at that student data protection one, make sure that it meshes well with what we want in relation to the agreement we have all the vendors sign. I know a lot of people worked to make that happen, and I don't want to inadvertently through these policies water that down or make changes. So if someone also, while you're looking at it, could look at it in relation to the student data agreement that we have vendors. Okay. So we'll continue this one on to other meetings. Ms. DeMayo, did you have anything else you wanted to add, or did we cover everything? We're good? All right. Okay. Well, thank you for jumping in here, Ms. Herrera, and for the update, and seeing that we've reached the end of the agenda. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved. Do I have a second? I will second it. It's non-negotiable, non-discussable. So we'll go ahead and vote. Dr. Yarborough,
Yes.
President Rivera,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everyone.